are the best prepaid cards to get in Zimbabwe? We've got a couple of options. I know FBC MasterCard, BancABC has a Visa card. Yeah, that's where my list ends. But which other banks also offer?
Stuart Bank
Yes,
has got a
sure.
Visa,
Also,
yeah. And you can get the Nostro cards. I don't know if it's not the same as a prepaid card, but yeah, sure. I think Stuart Bank would be the other one. Ed, can you think of another one? Because I'm kind of stumped. I've got 3.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think those are because
they can't be only 3. Or maybe those are the 3 major ones, I guess. The ones that are accessible to most people, or the ones that are pushing.
Wait, didn't ZB Bank do something with a prepaid card? The Visa Questa or something like that? Ketso, I think it was, a while back.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I think they may have they might have a Visa prepaid card. I think they do. Because they did a launch a couple of months ago.
Yeah, ZB does have one.
Yeah.
I remember them launching it. But yeah, I think a couple of banks have those. And I think the reason why we only remember the ones we remember, it's probably because, number one, they've been there for the longest time. So we're now familiar with them. But most importantly, number 2 is they offer the best terms when it comes to operating them. So stuff that us broke guys like, no monthly charges. And
I was telling my friend Ed. So I was helping with deciding which one to get, FBC or BancABC. And then it turned out that BancABC, you pay 50 cents per month, the monthly fee. But with the FBC, you don't pay. And then I was like, hey, if you're using the card a lot, it makes sense for you to go with BancABC, because it also turned out that BancABC is cheaper, I think, in terms of transacting than FBC. So if you're using the card more, it makes sense to be paying that 50 cents per month. But then if you're not using the card a lot, FBC now looks attractive, because you just get the card, no monthly fees, but you pay a higher transaction fee when you actually do transact. I don't know in the end if it ends up equaling, but in my head, I was like, hey, if I don't need to spend the $6 a year, let me not spend it, because every cent counts. But yeah, kind of hijacked you there, but yes.
Oh yeah, no, that was actually a good point there. Like, hey, like if you don't want to spend the money, then don't spend it, especially if you're not a person who frequently buys stuff. So I didn't know about that 50-cent fee. That's gonna be interesting. but yeah, it's one of those things that kind of get you thinking of what is the best card out there. And I guess some of them, some of the iffy things about these cards is that depending on which bank you use, there are some websites that accept some cards and some websites that don't accept some cards. So yeah, that's always, I don't have like the proper list, but I remember there's a card that I tried using on one platform and it wasn't, I think it was, I'm forgetting which card it was, but it was definitely on like HP's website. So just checking out a few stuff that I wanted to buy from the HP website, and the card that I used to try and buy stuff didn't work, but trying another card did. So yeah, some of those finicky things about these cards that you might want to look at apart from the cost.
Well, how about convenience though? Like, because I opened the BancABC, the dialer Visa, because I could just do it from home. Like it wasn't that complicated a process to do, because I was a little bit daunted and I wanted to try FBC. But then I saw you can just get it at home. It's $10. I think FBC is what, 15 or $20 deposit or payment thing for the first step. So I just figured, why not just do BancABC, because it seems easier. So I thought they would legit not show up, and I don't trust corporations at all. So I thought they wouldn't show up. And then when the guy came and then I signed the form and I gave him the money, I felt like that man was just going to go. Because Zimbabwe, how it is, things just disappear. And then to my surprise, they called me the next morning, wanted to activate the card. I was like, oh, okay, so it actually works. So that process just made me think, okay, listen, if you're not the 50-cent charge, because I looked it up and I saw there was 50%, a 50-cent charge. I'm guessing that's why they say you have to have that $5 deposit. So on what you're saying if you're using the card regularly, sure, I think it makes sense, but it's going to go away anyway. They're still going to charge you 50 cents anyway. But I think that 50 cents, it kind of makes it up for the convenience that, you know, you can have that $5 deposit in there and you're covered for most of the year if you're not going to use it. But you don't have to go to a branch and then do that whole hop, skip, and jump to get it. And also the requirements, because FBC needs you to have a proof of residence and then all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, yo, it's a bank card. Like, it's a prepaid card. Like, can they be less? And with BancABC, I think it was a copy of my ID. There was no proof of residence. Because that usually requires you to get a water bill, electrical bill, or someone to verify with an affidavit that you do live wherever you live, if you live with your parents. So BancABC just took all of that away and just made it easy for me to do it, you know, not even thinking about it. So when they came, it was just a simple process of filling out the form, getting the card, and then being told, since he came late, that it'll be activated tomorrow, and it was. So I'm okay with the charge, because they kind of made my life a little easier comparing to the fuel that I would have to spend to go to an FBC or whichever outlets they use to get that card and then get no charges. Maybe it's not bad. It's not balancing out in you guys' heads, but for me, it makes sense. It's like, hey, I'll take the 50 cents a month as long as I don't have to do anything. Although I'll have to go to the bank to preload the card, but the initial process didn't have me leaving where I was to do it.
So when you mentioned it, like, hey, you got the card and you're just home, my knee-jerk reaction was just, well, yeah, that's just a one-time benefit, right? Once you have the card, how's the experience going to be like? But then it is a valid point that you're making to be like, hey, it's these small little things. So for example, when you're opening the account, which I think is actually a big one, what are the requirements? Like what you said with FBC proof of res, it has to be within 3 months. And if it's like what you're mentioning, if you're staying with a parent, you then need an extra document to prove that this is your parent, so that they align that, okay, this house you're staying in we can use it to say this is where you stay at, really. If you're not, it means you have to talk with your landlord to get whatever documents you might need if you don't have them. And then the initial, my gosh.
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
It's the weather. It's the weather. So the problem is, I'll just go on a tangent a bit. So the problem is, I've been taking showers for probably 7 years now. Don't bath with warm water ever, even if it's raining, right? So sometimes my body just goes like, dude, look, the weather is cold. You decided to take a shower in the morning and it was cold. Who do you think you are? Okay. Like, no, you need to have warmth, not cold. So right now I'm like wrapped in like my hoodie and socks and all that. But it's like, sometimes it catches up with me.
Right.
But tangent aside, we're talking about the initial deposit. So with FBC it's 20, and then with BancABC, I think you said what, 5?
10.
10. So 5 is for the account,
yeah.
And then 5 to put in your card. So that also factors in when you're opening to be like, okay, I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to give them as many documents. I don't have to pay as much, and I'm sitting at home. This sounds like a better deal for the initial setup process. Even though to me, instantly I was like, yeah, dude, I can just go into town and get the card if I want it. But on the 50 cents thing, I was talking about from a perspective, which is also a thing that you need to find out, is it possible? I was talking from a perspective of, I'll mention the thing. I was talking from a perspective of you're making money when you're transacting. So if you're just putting in 50 cents and you're just buying stuff online, right? So you go, you deposit, and then every month they take away 50 cents, even if you don't use the card to pay for anything or to buy something that ends up feeding back income into your life. I think that's an unnecessary expense at that point. I would rather then do the $20, knowing that in the long run, I will not be getting a fixed expense every month for a card that I'll use maybe once every Christmas, for example. So that's where I was coming from, to be like, hey, do I really want to attach a monthly expense to my life for something I use once in a while, something that does not even have me generating any income? So the thing that I was mentioning that you need to find out is, can you actually receive funds to these cards? So before, that used to be like a straightforward thing that just worked. So you could have money sent to you and it gets into your card. Now I'm not sure if that's still possible to say you can actually be having some sort of payment integration somewhere where you're selling something and then you then get funds to get into your same Visa card or MasterCard account with BancABC or FBC respectively.
I'm not sure if you can receive money. So I had a friend who had an FBC prepaid card on uni, and he basically, I think it was his dad's, because he would just go and load the card and say, okay, you got the money. It was cool for him because the thing was instant. For us, financial transfer, it took kachana, and got stressed, and end of the month, and hunger and whatnot, etc. So that's the point. So I don't think you can receive. I think the premise of it, I think you'd have to find out. Anyone listening, these are just my thoughts. I think the premise of it being a prepaid card means you'd have to load it to use it. I think that's one of the conditions. I think if you want something that can receive money, it'd probably be getting a Nostro account.
That if a new bank or an existing one was to actually offer a new card which receives payments, I think that would be cool. Like, I'd probably go for that, because that option of it makes it easier for me to like set up something where I can get money while in Zimbabwe, international money while in Zimbabwe, and be able to easily transact with it anywhere else. Which is where like the other alternatives. So we're kind of mentioning local issued cards. So you have your BancABC or FBC, but you can also get international cards. So for example, there's this company called Payoneer, and it's actually somewhat popular when you're talking to people who are doing freelancing in Zimbabwe. So you can open an account with them, and they also have a MasterCard that they can give you with the account, provided you've met certain conditions. I think you have to have earned $30 or something. But then this account, you can then set it up with marketplaces where you're selling stuff and you receive money into that account. And then you can move the funds from the account to the card, or it happens automatically as well. That's an option. And you can have cards in different currencies, and you can then use that card to then buy stuff online or make payments or stuff. So the card is free once you've like reached this, once you've qualified to get it. So that could also be an option.
Wait, before we go on, how long is it, a virtual card or a physical card?
It's a physical card. I got mine, I don't know, some years ago, 2018, I think. It was before things got hectic.
So why didn't you tell me about this before? I feel betrayed.
Yeah. Did
you ask?
Did you ask?
You should have just.
So that's the thing. Should I just have come out of the blue and went, "Oh, hey, dude, there's this card that I got some years ago."
Good. I would have enjoyed that. Like, it's useful. Like, this is useful. Like, the things I could have done.
Yeah, but the tricky thing now with Payoneer is that you can't self-fund. So you can't deposit into the card, and you can't transfer from an account that's in the same name as your Payoneer account. So the only way to get funds into the account and the card is for you to be selling something or offering a service somewhere where people then pay you, and then you then get funds into the card. So yeah.
Doesn't that sort of address the need for people who want to who in Zimbabwe want to buy stuff, who want to provide services to people in or people in the diaspora? Because
so definitely okay, yeah.
No, you can continue on then.
Well, I think you're done because I cut you.
Yes, I'm done because you cut me.
But yeah, clearly I picked up a bad habit from Farai.
Yes, you have.
But yes, it's very good for people who are setting up businesses, whether you're freelancing, selling books, courses, or you're offering a service, web development, web design, app development, or video editing, whatever it is. It is very good for that type of person. But for a consumer, no, because you'll be frustrated with how you end up getting money into the card.
Ed
At
is
least you
awfully
can
quiet.
buy stuff from it.
I was about to say Ed is
Yeah.
awfully quiet.
But like like it is a bit tricky when it comes to cards receiving money from outside. So I still remember asking Stuart Bank way back when, and they were telling me no, with our Visa cards you can't have money transferred to your account from like outside or from another forex account. You have to just deposit the money physically there. I had not reached out to like FBC and BancABC because those are the other two banks that I have. But what I did notice is because PayPal, I have a PayPal account, and PayPal has a feature where you can move money from your PayPal wallet into your linked bank account. And for all the cards that I have, all the Zim cards that I have, none of them would allow me to do that. Whenever I tried, it would be like, it would give me some error, like your bank is not allowed to perform this operation or something. So yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I don't know which cards in Zim actually work for such features. I'm sure there are some. I would like to believe that FBC should have that facility where you can just receive money from somewhere out there direct into your account.
Into the prepaid,
But there are some cards. That's where I'm not too sure now. Okay. I think probably it's for the Nostro one and not the prepaid one. But if it's a prepaid card, which is the easiest one to get, yeah, the ease comes with some few restrictions.
All right.
Did we not make a payment for our voices to speak?
Oh yeah, we ran out.
The silent just went silent. But yeah, so those are the options. For me, I don't have a BancABC card yet. I do have an FBC one, which I got again some years ago. Also had a Stuart one, which expired. But with the Stuart one, it was cool. The early times I used it, but I moved to FBC. I don't know why, but there's a reason that I moved to FBC. And then BancABC, I haven't tried that one out. But don't be like me. Don't end up having 3 different cards, especially if they're monthly payments, because yeah, you'll be digging yourself into a hole. For now, I would say FBC is my pick, just because I haven't tried BancABC. However, BancABC is also, it's very enticing for me. It's just that I don't want that 50 cents per month yet.
You can afford it.
Yeah,
you can afford it. You can afford it.
So sometimes it's not about that. Like you might have the 50 cents, but then it's just like, dude, I could have used that for something else. So for example, $6. Do you know what $6 is?
Yeah, in a
Valentine?
year. In a year. Like think about it, in a year.
I would rather right now use that $6 to buy Joey's Pizza.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I was actually going to buy you Joey's Pizza today, but because you mentioned it, I'm not going to.
I take it back. I take it back from it.
Why would you do that to a man?
Because no, like it's $6 in a year. Like I know it's okay. This is okay. Again, I might sound like I'm speaking from a position of privilege, and I'm sorry, but for me, it just cut out so much that I needed to do beforehand that I could forgive the charge. Because I'm thinking about fuel, I'm thinking about the car I'm going to use, I'm thinking about the time, especially time, because time is like the most valuable commodity we have. So the 30 minutes to an hour it'll take you to get to wherever you need to get to do the applications and probably be sent back home and be like, oh no, listen, why you forgot this, or you know, the proof of residence you brought was not the one we needed, or it's too old, or etc. You know, then you have to come back and then do the process again. I feel like, you know, unless, okay, offset, the people who have obviously, you know, prepared and done this a number of times, but even that single trip could cost you more in time and other things you could have been doing in that time. So for me, I can forgive it on that part. Like I'll take the $6 a year and not buy tomorrow Joy's Pizza.
You're not making me sound like I'm very stingy with money.
No,
like...
it's not being stingy, but you see a utility.
Certified cheapskate.
No, but I'm saying I agree with you that, you know, it's good not to have a fixed monthly charge over your head. The less overheads you have, the better, to be honest. But in this particular aspect, I think for me, it makes sense because it just cuts out the number of resources. Because, for example, okay, I think for this to make sense is the way I'm thinking is, and I'm sure Ed may or may not agree. I hope he does, because I don't want to be the lone voice of this. It's like every time you take your car out, you're wearing down components by, point something. So especially in Zimwe, fixing a car or giving a car an engine overhaul or service is expensive. I would prefer to save that asset and then spend money elsewhere, because I'd rather prolong the period that I have to go to my next service without having to worry that I've gone over the miles over to my next service. So it just preserves an asset. That's what I'm thinking in my head. Also, fuel, not really cheap. It's gone up, and I don't really want to have to deal with putting fuel in the car. Even if I'm getting public transport, again, that's a cost, because it's going to take time for me, and where I stay, getting a combi is not the easiest thing to do. So that's time that I'm going to be wasting standing. If I'm going to get a taxi or a Via, again, that's a problem, because that's what, $10 to go get it and then pay the deposit. So if it's FBC screen, and I'm not saying anything bad about FBC. I'm probably going to open one just to experience it, but it's that $10 plus $20 to get it, and then whatever transfer needs to get back, and the hour and a half I'd have spent being out there, which means I've missed an hour and a half of other things I could be doing to generate income. So it's that's my thought process. Hopefully it makes sense, and Ed better agree, because I don't want to be alone in this. I don't want to seem like the only crazy person here.
Well, how I'd approach that one is pretty similar to how you're saying that. What's the cost of the saving that I'm getting doing something over just paying for something? So yeah, as you rightfully say, like, moving around is a bit of an issue. Like, it's one of the biggest issues that kind of frustrates me when it comes to loading up the cards. I have to actually go to a bank and be in a queue where I have to wait so that I give them my money. So that's it kind of sucks. It's an experience that sucks, and it's an experience that you'd want to avoid as much as you can if there is a way of paying a very small fee for the convenience. But again, like, it depends on what convenience is to you, like that I don't know if it's an Africa thing or a Zim thing, but it's how we don't really value our own personal time when it comes to whatever tasks that we do. So if people will say, hey, if I'm just gonna stand in a queue for an hour so that I deposit money, it's fine. I mean, I'm not paying to stand in the queue, so it's okay. But then when you see what you could have done in that hour that you were standing in a queue, you'll be like, man, is my time worth this? And that's the sort of convenience that some of these services then bring out. So $6 is a very nice pizza. I would love to support Rufaro there. I mean, that's Joey's Pizza we're talking about there. So definitely. But if it's at a cost where you add up what you're losing from just saving that $6, it can get to a point where a conservative way, let me pay the $6, or someone else would say, actually, no, I'm good with the hustle. I'll make it work.
Sorry to prolong this a little bit longer, but a while back, I did an article about outdoor payment terminals. And when you brought up, like, I would like a convenient means of which to deposit money. So I'm not calling anyone out here, but someone in the comments said this is an impractical thing for Zimbabwe because of all the stuff that you have set up for it to make it work, right? And I was like, yeah, I get the point. But with prepaid cards, for someone not to go to the bank, an outdoor payment terminal at your closest shop, for example, for me, it's Greencroft Shops. So if I go to Greencroft Shops and I put $10 in my BancABC card to preload it, it saves me, and I can walk there. It saves me the time and all that to get into town. So then why aren't banks bringing these innovations, even with a charge, like a deposit fee? I would take that, honestly, to not wasting time and other resources to be able to go to my nearest BancABC, which is far, which is a bus car ride away. So why aren't banks looking at something like that? As I would see it as a convenience, to be honest, to say, okay, I'll pay.
Maybe just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Like, like in terms of for them to invest that, given either one, the number of people who are using these cards, or number two, the spread of the people. Because if you have in Harare, people are spread all over, you're going to have to set up multiple of these deposit points to cover all of them. And at that point, you might then be like, well, yeah, just go to our branch. Our branch is the deposit point. It's just unfortunate that they're not close to everyone else. They're not close to everyone because, yeah, we can't open a branch everywhere as well.
No, but then again, if you're looking at it like that, it could be a case of the auto payment terminal doesn't have to serve one need. It can do other things as well. You can do deposits, people can do withdrawals, you can do, like an ATM, but like those South African ATMs basically, where you can both deposit and withdraw money and do other transactions and stuff like that. I think it would serve a greater purpose if it was in that respect. It doesn't have to be an OTP in any respect. It can be one of those ATMs where you can actually deposit, but giving your customers that kind of convenience with a charge. Again, revenue generation is one thing that most banks cry about, or most companies probably cry about, and that's an excellent way, to be honest. If you got a prepaid card and you want something close, okay, you can go to the close thing, but you're going to pay X amount. So on a day that you're in town, fair enough, you can go to your branch and then go deposit. But on a day when it's something that needs to be done pressing, it's worth taking the charge to be able to meet the need that is just arisen. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense on my end. Well, I'm with you on that one, I guess. But yeah, on the pizza one, I know.
It's gone, man. It's gone. It's over.
Give the man a pizza, bro.